A story about justice, reform, and reinvention after a tough upbringing during apartheid South Africa, with violence being a status quo. Khayelitsha native Mncedisi Mdingi was just 17 years old when he was sentenced to 42 years in prison for a series of crimes. An experience he believes could have broken, in turn, encouraged him to build a new person. Now he pens a story of hope, accountability, and restoration in his book Beyond Prison Bars, a journey from gangsterism to grace. Tell it as it is. He joins us now to tell us more. Good morning, Mncedisi. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika, and thank you for your time.
A blessed morning to the presenters and all the listeners out there and the viewers. Thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting me. I'm pleased to be here.
Much appreciated. Now, you opened the book painting a scenario of life in the late 1960s when you were born. Tell us about the time that you were born in and the environment that you were born into.
I was born in Gugulethu, dusty streets and concrete streets of Cape Town, a township called Gugulethu, our pride. I was born in the late 1960s and during the peak hour of the apartheid and the division and the inequality which was ripe and the oppression that was against us as human beings, black ones.
Now, you actually came from a very good family, and oftentimes when we see stories of people who rebel or fall to the wayside or join a life of crime, very often we see people who come from broken families, child-headed households. Tell me about the family that you were born into.
I was born in a family, two loving parents, married parents, my mom and my dad. Yeah, they raised me in church principles, Anglican church where they raised me. And then the love was there, the warmth was there, 7 siblings, and I'm the last one in the siblings. And the things that I noticed around, it was warm in the home, inside the home. But now outside, when you go outside, that's when I noticed in my primary years, that's when I noticed that there is this inequality that is happening between us in the township and those that are in the suburbs, which were the color that is different than the color of our community.
And did you see your acts as crime at the point at which you were committing these acts? You described the 80s as the peak of your rebellious years.
It was regarded as crime to the system. But my mind and my motive, all the motive that I was doing it mostly against the regime, the system that was governing the country, which was ruled by a majority, the white, which were minority to us as blacks. So to me, I didn't recognize it as crime per se, but it was classified as criminal, what I was doing during those years, because I was breaking mostly in the white suburbs. I was robbing the businesses, I was robbing the banks, which I believe were owned by the white people, the Supreme.
And how did you actually launch into a life of crime?
I launched it because of I was influenced by those that were senior than me at that time, because I saw also this difference was very huge. And then at home, there is that warm love, home love that I received. But the richness and to afford some other things, I couldn't afford them that were outside. And then I want to make my family also to be on the level of affording everything. And seeing that there was this segregation of separating the whites from blacks, and you find some stations and bus stops and shops which were says non-whites on this side and blacks only on this side and first-class citizens and stuff. Those things brought frustration in my mind and in my heart, and they brought guy as well.
In your book, you say that the first time you were arrested for culpable homicide, you said, I didn't deserve jail time, or I didn't serve jail time rather. My sentence was corporal punishment. This did not stop me. Instead, I became more rebellious.
Yes, the culpable homicide that I did, yes, it was an accident, if I can tell honestly. And it's one of those that I regret because it happened to one of our community members. And then it happened, I really regretted it with all of my life, that one. And then when it happened, the anger was still there because it came from the abuse that I received as a young child. And then now I decided to defend myself by carrying sharp objects, which grew to me carrying now the firearm, which I intended to defend myself from any harm that can come to risk my life.
So tell us about the events that led to you being receiving a 42-year jail sentence at the age of 17.
Actually, the 42 years I received when I was 29 years old. Yeah, the 42 years sentence. The 17 years that I just want to correct that one. It was the start of the crime
When
that
you were
led me to
sentenced to
prison.
5 years initially, right?
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes,
Gotcha.
that was the,
Yeah.
yes, it started there. It starts there. And then it led me to these 42 years, which was caused by armed robbery, attempted to murder, and the hostage that I kept, the kidnap, and the shooting with the cops that happened here in the Western Cape, in the small township called Woolsley. It was 1997, I guess. Yes, it's 1997. In the small township called Woolsley, it's next to Ceres, here in the Boland.
When do you think the transition, the internal transition happened with you? Because the 80s were your most rebellious years. No amount of trouble that you were falling into was reforming you, not even the prison sentences. When did you switch? What changed and when?
Wow. I switched when I was chained, my hands and my feet, when I was in prison in Worcester, outskirts of Worcester, called Brandflay Maximum Prison. That prison, you will find that people, they are saying there is no God that can save you here. God has passed by in this prison. I became very tired of what I was doing in and out of prison. And then I was searching. It's like I was searching for something. I was searching for some peace inside of me. But instead, I just found myself always going down backwards in prison. And then you remember I said when I grew up, I hated the people that were not the color of my skin, mainly white people. I hated them with passion. I have anger against them. But guess what? In prison, locked in isolation section, locked and kept as a terrorist, kept as a most dangerous criminal, because I escaped even in prison by holding officers. And then I'm listening to this radio station. It's a radio 7, which was a local radio in that area at that time. I was listening. I was fortunate to listen to the radio station, and then the televangelist from United States of America by the name of Billy Graham, the late Billy Graham. That man mentored me from the radio. That man mentored me, and he's the one that brought senses to my mind and my heart that says, you didn't choose to be black, as I, as Billy Graham, didn't choose to be white. So he brought the clear sense about the true word of God. That's when the turn started in my life. It was 1999, the 1st of January, when you know most always on the 1st of January, people have those resolutions that this new year I'm going to do this, and I was trying this Jesus Christ, and then I accepted him on that day, the 1st of January 1999. My life never turned back again. And then 42 years was in front of me. I was sentenced. It was just like I'm coming to this luck now, because I've tried everything. I've tried the Sangoma. I've tried everything. Nothing that worked for me. But that Jesus Christ transformed me drastically. He transformed my mind. He transformed my heart, the way of thinking, the way of doing things. He brought love back. He brought that passion that my parents taught me when I was very young. Those principles that my parents planted in me, he brought them back through the white man. The white man that I hated, he's the one that also helped me to transform my mind only through the word of God. It's the one that is working for me till to date.
That is very
Since
interesting.
1999.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an incredible story. You've been on quite a journey. Now, very briefly,
ma'am.
before I let you go, in the process of all of this, serving 42-year sentence, you met a lovely woman who's your wife today. How did you meet your wife?
Wow. Meeting my wife was also just a miracle. I met my wife in 1995. I remember, still in prison. I was in prison for other cases also, business robberies. My wife came to visit, assisting her friend to visit her boyfriend. And then we were in the prison called, at that time it was Victor Fester. the famous Victor Verster, where our late President Nelson Mandela was released. It's called now Drakenstein. It was 1995 when my wife assisted her friend to visit. And then inside, my friend who was visited by his girlfriend, he asked me to join him in the visit. When I came to the visit, I saw this gorgeous, precious lady, and then I just uttered the word which I never uttered to no girl before. I said, will you please pretend to be my wife? Those were my first words I uttered to her.
Wow.
1995, I guess it was maybe August. Yes, that's how I met my wife.
I guess that really attests to the power of manifestation. But we could have this conversation for hours, but unfortunately we've run out of time. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your book. Thank you for being an inspiration to society. Today you're an entrepreneur and a community leader. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time also. People who need the book, they can even get me on Facebook. They can even get me on my number. I will give them directions because I'm selling the book. Is flying like hotcakes. The book is flying and flying. It's just waiting for hands to touch it.